As we kick off the summer patio season this weekend, it's make it or break it season for Canada's breweries. And while most of us enjoy the benefits of their labor, it is serious business. Meanwhile, Ontario's oldest remaining independent microbrewer, Brick Brewing, is just the latest to announce it's up for sale. It's got us wondering whether others are to follow. Stephen Beaumont is the author of the Great Canadian Beer Guide. Ken Woods is president of Black Oak Brewery. Thanks to both of you for joining us.
Pleasure. It's great.
Yeah, I want to start actually, I think appropriately as we head into this long weekend with whether Canadian beer is any good. Because I recently talked to a brewer who admitted that when you get right down to it, it's not that hard to make beer. Would you agree that that's a safe, true statement?
It is true. It's a much more difficult thing to make good beer.
That's very true. Making good beer is really, really difficult.
And if I told you that Canadian beer is not good, I think Ken might hit me. So I'm not going to say that.
But you do think we make some good beer in this country?
We make some good beer. My big complaint about Canadian beer from a critic's point of view is that Canadian brewers tend to be very conservative. So we're not out there, we're not exploring the fringes like our neighbors to the south, quite frankly. But I think there are some great beers made in this country, no question.
What does it take to make a good beer?
It takes a lot of work, a lot of equipment, big stainless steel tanks, brewmasters with fantastic educations. They trade information, they trade stories, they trade recipes, they trade ideas on techniques, and they come up with really, really good beer.
But what's the difference between a discount beer and a really good beer? Like, what do you look for?
I'd say the ingredients. We use Canadian two-row malt. We get in some specialty malts from Europe. We get specialty hops in from the States. We use very good yeasts, and it's all small batch crafted beer. So there's from grain to glass, we take really good care of our beer.
Why is it that it seems inevitable in this country that a beer company, if it gets more successful, will get taken over? Why don't you start? And then, of course, obviously, that's got to be something that you think about. But why do we see our ale companies get to a certain size and then get purchased?
Well, I think that right now the brewing industry globally is going through massive consolidation. I just read a story today talking about S.A.B. Miller and Molson Coors merging.
Oh, God.
The idea that this consolidation can keep going on at this huge level is, of course, there's a limit to that. So what you're seeing is emerging multinationals like Sapporo sweep in and buy Sleeman. And then the pickings start getting a little smaller. So they start going after smaller companies. Whether an international will come in and try to make a play for Brick, that remains to be seen.
Now, we are in a seller's market. I mean, the premiums have been incredible. Mm-hmm. Is it something that you've thought of? Are you tempted by the kind of money that's being thrown around?
It's part of the growth of the industry overall. People are getting more and more into the beers, but at my level, I'm still way below the radar for something like that. For example, today was a regular day at the brewery where we're getting the grain to the farmer so the farmer can feed his cows. That's what's left over from our brews, and I still have a couple of deliveries to do after this show.
In terms of your business, what stands between you and an even better business? I mean, are there impediments to selling a good beer and selling a lot of beer in Ontario?
I think the most important thing is good marketing and good branding and getting that message out there. It's very, very difficult to do and come across with a good, consistent message. There are so many good success stories like Sleeman's, like Brick, and some of the other good small brewers such as Creemore. I could go on for hours talking about how well they do it, but they do have good product and they do have that message out in front of the consumer, and that's the most important thing. That's what we're doing with by being part of the Ontario Craft Brewers. Just as well as the wines of Ontario have grown, we're trying to follow in their footsteps as well.
We've got a big takeover, Labatt's takeover of Lakeport, sorry, excuse me, not the beer expert, giving them 41% of the discount beer market. Yeah. Is there enough competition in your mind to counter such a big Goliath in the industry?
I quite frankly don't think Labatt really wants there to be a discount beer market. I expect that their thinking behind this takeover of Lakeport was to de-emphasize the discount market. So while they're still playing in it, they have an obligation to keep the brewery open and running for a certain period of time. What I see them as wanting out of this is to kind of scale down that discount market so that more people are paying more money for Labatt Blue, Budweiser, what they call premium brands, what we would call mainstream brands that they brew.
why can't I buy your beer at my local LCBO?
I'm not in enough stores. I don't have the people power to get out there and work the relationships with the LCBOs.
Yeah.
So we're trying to do that. We're trying to raise awareness, build our sales. In the summertime, you'll see a lot more of our product out there, if we can last and if we can make enough beer. Right now, we're still running out of our beer. There's a good demand for it, but we need more tanks. We need some capital for those tanks.
And how do you, in your business, how do you go about raising money? Is that a bank loans you the money?
It's going back, redoing a business plan, going out to a bank, potentially looking at some angel investors.
Yeah.
It's right down to the core of the business that needs to be done.
How is the LCBO set up, the beer stores, etc.? Is it small brewer friendly, or is it too much of a hurdle, do you think?
I think the LCBO has had an epiphany, and they have become Ontario craft brewery friendly. Are they premium beer friendly? No. Is the beer store craft beer friendly, premium beer friendly? Not at all. I mean, we've got to remember the beer store is owned by Molson Labatt, with a small amount for Sleeman. So they're really a beer buying factory. And if you go into the non-self-service stores, you see it every weekend. People roll in one case of empties, they roll out a full case of the same beer.
Yeah.
They don't even look at those little boards that they have where all the brands are listed. So it's very, very difficult. And that's what, 85%, 90% of the beer sold in Ontario now?
Yes.
So that's a tough nut to crack.
I was listening to some marketing campaign going on right now in Ontario by the Liquor Control Board on beers and wines of Europe.
Mm-hmm.
And it did strike me that I can't remember the last time I heard a beers and wines of Ontario promotion. Maybe they do it and I haven't noticed. But does it frustrate you that they focus their attention on getting me to drink Stella and a whole bunch of other beer that comes from overseas?
We're only one of the number of products they have out there. If I had my way, we'd be in front of everybody's face all the time, but we can't afford that. So it's all the business side of things. With the Ontario Craft Brewers, our marketing, our radio ads, our print ads are just starting to go out right now, because the May weekend up until Labor Day weekend is one of the busiest times for beer consumption.
And you expect to have enough beer to sell?
I'm hoping to, but I will run out.
We appreciate both of you joining us. Ken Woods is the president of Black Oak Brewery. Stephen Beaumont, author of The Great Canadian Beer Guide.